Well, unions that represent rank-and-file field agents at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the union has unanimously passed a vote of no confidence for the agency's leadership. Well, saying that ICE has abandoned its core mission of protecting the public to support a political agenda favoring amnesty. These are the folks that are actually working on the border. Now, Barack Obama went to Texas, right? And he went to Texas hoping he was going to find a Democrat, but he couldn't find it. They were like roaches. They turned on the light and they scattered. The only person to greet him was a Republican, Rick Perry, the governor of Texas. And Rick Perry says, look, here's what we need. We need troops and drones on the border. Troops and drones. The National Immigration and Customs Enforcement Council of the American Federation of Government Employees, which represents 7,000 ICE agents and employees, voted 259 to nothing for a resolution saying there was growing dissatisfaction and concern over the leadership of Assistant Secretary John Morton, who heads ICE, and Phyllis Coven, Assistant Director for the agency's Office of Detention Policy and Planning. I don't know that this has happened anything. It doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. You've got the folks at the National Immigration and Customs Enforcement Council of the American Federation of Government Employees voting 259 to nothing in a vote of no confidence for this administration on what they're doing to give them the tools they need to protect this border. We have serious problems, and this administration is ignoring them. The resolution says that ICE leadership has abandoned the agency's core mission of enforcing U.S. immigration laws and providing for public safety, instead directing its attention to campaigning for programs and policies related to amnesty and the creation of a special detention system for foreign nationals that exceeds the care and services provided to most U.S. citizens similarly incarcerated. It is the desire of our union to publicly separate ourselves from the actions of Director Morton and Assistant Director Coven and publicly state that ICE officers and employees do not support Morton or Coven or their misguided and reckless initiatives, which could ultimately put many in America at risk, the union says, according to the Washington Times today. In a strongly worded statement, the union and its affiliated local councils said the integrity of the agency, quote, as well as the public safety, would be better provided for in the absence of Director Morton and Assistant Director Coven. They want them gone because they're not doing anything to protect the citizens of the United States. The statement also noted that the majority of ICE's enforcement and removal officers are prohibited from making street arrests or enforcing U.S. immigration laws outside of the jail setting. They also said that hundreds of ICE officers nationwide perform no law enforcement duties whatsoever because of resource mismanagement within the agency. And we heard that Obama's talking about sending a bunch of troops to the border, but they're not going to be about border control. We don't know what they're going to do. I don't know whether they're going to be for assistance or clerical work or whatever the heck they're doing. We need troops on the border to repel the invasion. We have an invasion, folks. If 12 to 20 million people came across our border at one time, we would be terrified of it. The fact that it's happened over the last 10 or 15 years should be no less terrifying because they're here. And they came here because this administration and the prior administration allowed it to happen. I think on purpose they allowed this to happen. It's not that they were just asleep at the switch. They want it to happen. Now let's talk about another immigration policy that's going on out there that nobody wants to talk about, and that is the refugee policy of this administration. Bring Muslims from some of these countries. We have no idea where these folks are coming from. We have no idea what their ideology is. We have no idea if they're friend or foe. But I've talked to several airline pilots that have told me personally that they have been piloting airplanes where these refugees are getting on and being dispersed across the country. Now, we have to wonder what the motivation of this administration is. These aren't political refugees. These are people who just want to come, and they're Muslim, and so the president says, bring them on. Why are we allowing more people in this country, period, when we've got near 10% unemployment? Why would we want to have more people from foreign countries competing for the jobs that we can't get ourselves in this country? Why would we want to do this? Unless you were purposely trying to destroy what we know is America. And this union that patrols our borders out there, they have voted unanimously that they have no confidence in the leadership of this administration who are over their day-to-day duties of protecting the border. They don't give them the resources they need. They don't allow them to arrest people like they need to arrest people. And when they do arrest people, they have to let them go over and over and over again. When will it stop? Now, I'm going to tell you this. This administration is all set to come back in a lame duck session of Congress after the elections because I think they have resigned themselves to the fact that the Democrats are going to lose and lose big, probably lose control of the House, maybe lose control of the Senate. And they're going to come back in the lame duck session, and they're going to try to pass this amnesty and the rest of this bovine scatology they've been trying to pass all along that they couldn't get passed, hoping that there'll be enough desperate kamikaze congressmen wanting a scorched earth policy on their way out of Washington, D.C. And we cannot allow that to happen. Now, hopefully, we can appeal to the sensibilities of the Democrats who are going to be left in Congress and say, look, is this what you want as your legacy? That your party came in and passed all these things the American people don't want? What we need is border control. What we need is to demagnetize America, and you do that by cutting off the jobs and the benefits and closing the border. But they don't want to close the border because there are two parties out there. I'm not talking about political parties. There are two parties of people who want to keep this illegal immigration going. Those who want to hire the cheap labor and those who want the votes. Some of them are the same, some of them are different. But they are out there. They want the cheap labor and they want the votes. And there's no consequence now to hiring illegal aliens. At least not in most states. Arizona's trying to do something about it. What happens if the federal government sues them? San Francisco sets up a sanctuary city and they don't get sued? And this government is talking about a patchwork. We can't have a patchwork approach to immigration. Well, we got a patchwork approach to sanctuary cities, and that is going contrary to the law. The law says you can't enter the country illegally. But San Francisco, some of these other cities are saying, if you do, come here. We're not going to arrest you. We'll embrace you. We welcome you. We encourage you. We are the magnet. And that's who we should be prosecuting, not folks in Arizona that are trying to secure the borders and protect their own people in their own state. We should be going after people like San Francisco that are creating and perpetuating the problem. And this vote by these folks is a huge deal. These are the people on the front lines that are trying to protect our borders, and they have no confidence whatsoever in this administration, and they want to see the people that are over them, Morton and Coven specifically, they want to see them gone. But the problem is, you put somebody else in there and they're going to be just like them because that's the policy of this administration. And I'm not just picking on this administration. It was the policy of the last administration.